Good morning. Welcome to the Corner of Knit and Tea. I'm Laura, also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea, where I sell my hand-spun yarns. And finally, we have a Ravelry group called The Corner of Knit and Tea. If you haven't come over and checked us out, please do. Hi, how are you? It is Sunday morning, October 30th, and I am kind of settled in for a cozy day, and I wanted to get another podcast recording done so I can share what I've been working with you all. This week has been a little bit crazy. By far, the most exciting thing that has happened this week is I got a new nephew. Technically, he was born before last week's podcast, but my sister had not made the official announcement yet, so I did not say anything. But my new nephew, Miles, who is a sweetie, was born on Sunday, October 23rd. He was born at 1 o'clock in the morning. And he and Mama are doing very well. They went home after a couple days, and he has already gained back his birth weight. So he is thriving and letting my sister sleep for 2 to 3 hours at a stretch. Big sister Roxy loves him. She's enjoying being a big sister and helping out. And her birthday is tomorrow, so it probably also helps that there's lots of birthday celebrations and things going on for her. But that is my exciting news this week. I won't get to meet Miles until I go up to Chicago. We're going to do Thanksgiving there this year because my family always does a big Thanksgiving. So that's a few more weeks, but I'll get by with some FaceTiming with them and lots of pictures. If I send my sister a little greeting in the morning, usually she'll send back a few pictures. So I will make do with those until I get to snuggle him and hang out with Miss Roxy. So that was the big news here. Otherwise, pretty much just keeping on. And let's get into the podcast. Today, I am not drinking tea in my Halloween mug, only because I sent my Halloween mug, brought it to the office so I could use it all week this past week, and forgot to bring it home and wanted to sort of leave it there for Monday for Halloween. So I am drinking in my favorite Kansas mug, which is Dear Dorothy, Hey Dawes, Took the Shoes, Find Your Own Way Home, Toto. That's my favorite Kansas mug, and I know it's way early, and I am not trying to hasten the season, but I started a bunch of Christmas knitting this week. So when I saw my favorite Christmas tea, it is Christmas Eve from Stash Herbal Tea. It is orange and cinnamon and spearmint and vanilla and cloves, and so it is orange, mint, and spice. And I said last week I love spice. So I decided to make myself a cup of that this morning. This is one of my favorite teas, and honestly, I would drink it year-round, except it seems weird to drink Christmas Eve tea year-round. But like I said, since I started Christmas knitting this week, then there you go. Okay, let's get into it because I have lots to show you. I had a little bit of cast on all the things this week. So I didn't get as much done on some of the things I wanted to, and I have lots of projects to show you. So let's talk about this. The first thing that I finished were Roxy's socks. These are the socks knit in the same yarn my Rhinebeck socks are knit in, which is the Cyborg Craft Room, a sockolate in a one-of-a-kind colorway. These are just plain vanilla socks for Miss Roxy, cast on at the toe, knit up to the heel, did a fish lips kiss heel, did a cuff, and done. So this is the second pair of socks I have to give her, and I brought her a pair over the summer too. I'll probably knit her a few more pairs sometime during the winter and send those along, but these are done. And technically, since my family only sees each other at Thanksgiving, we spend Christmas with our in-laws. We always exchange gifts at Thanksgiving, so I'm working to finish some gifts for Thanksgiving, and so this is technically going in her Christmas package, but it'll be a little bit earlier. So that's those. That's finished object number 1. Finished object number 2, because I just got a wild hair, is I have a friend who has, her baby is, I guess, about 7 months old now, and this is going to be her first winter. So I knit a 2B hat. That's the 2B hat by Woolly Wormhead, and these are the leftovers from Roxy's birthday sweater. That was a Mongo skein, which was 8 ounces and 560 yards. It was from Threadhead Designs. She's a local dyer, and she vends at local shows. I'm not sure she has a real online business. But anyway, so that is a 2B hat. It looks huge to me, but hopefully it'll give her a little room to grow in. So that is finished object number 2 for the week. Trying to use up some leftovers and get some yarn out of stash. So, yeah. Okay, so let's see what's next. I'll talk about what I did last week. These are the milkweed socks. Have not gotten much further. Wanted to finish the first sock this week. Totally cast on a bunch of other things and ended up working with those. These, I will not finish these, obviously, by October 31st for Socktober, but my plan is to try and get these done by the end of November so that I can start on some Christmas socks for December, and I think that's a totally doable goal, although I have a billion things I'm going to knit in December. I'm sorry, a billion things that I'm going to knit in November, so we'll just have to see about these. But worst case scenario, I will take these in the car with me on the way up to Chicago for Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving week I will probably be working on mostly selfish knitting because the first part of the Christmas gifting will be done. So yes, so those are my milkweed socks by Anna Podlesak. That was in Filament issue number 1. I'm loving how they're knitting up. I'm just getting distracted by other projects. And this is Nerd Girl yarns in the Django base. And this is I Met Him on the River. It's a really nice Tweety base. Aside from that, it's the first time that I'm knitting with Tweety yarn, and I keep wanting to pick the naps and the flex out of it, because I am so used to doing that when I spin and or when I knit with most yarns, and I keep having to remind myself not to do that. So yeah, that's the current sock project on the needles. Okay, so well, I guess I can show you one more before I talk about my dilemma. The next project that I have on the needles are some mittens for Roxy to match the hat that I knit her a while ago, which I showed you several weeks ago. It is knit in this crazy, crazy eye-searing bright pink. This is Knit Picks Swish Brights. It's 100% superwash merino, and it is in the colorway Pucker. And I am working on the Maize mittens, Maize by Tin Can Knits. And like I said, I have one, or as you can see, I have one mitten done except for the thumb. They look crazy long to me, but I totally followed the pattern. So, and I have knit these for her before, so I'm hoping that I didn't err. And I'm hoping that when they like stretch out with hands in them, they won't be quite so tall. And I can also see that if I add the thumb and it comes up part way, then yeah. So this is the first mitten, no thumb yet. I hate knitting thumbs on mittens. Hate, 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 because there's always like a hole there that I have to sew up. Really annoying. But yeah, so I've knit the first mitten. I am working on the, oops, pulled the needle out. I'm working on the I cord to go to the second needle. I always do this for her mittens so that they don't get lost if she pulls them off. So yes. So this is probably the last knit that I will do for Roxy for Christmas, which is nice, which means I'm almost done. I need to do some kind of hand pockets for Miles. I haven't quite decided. I mean, I think I'm basically going to do a mitten without a thumb, and then just do the cuff extra long. I talked about it with my sister last night, so we'll have to see. So that will be upcoming, but this is one mitten, and I'll have to work on the second one. That might be a project for this evening. So yeah, so that's Maize Mittens by Tin Can Knits. So for weeks now, I've been saying that I am only going to knit for the kids this Christmas, and I have quite a bit done. I have a sweater that I knit for Miles a while ago. I have a hat that I knit for Miles a while ago, and I have leftovers from the hat that I was thinking about using to make the matching hand pockets. I have a couple different hats for Roxy and the mittens and a couple pairs of socks. So I have all kinds of good stuff for her. And if it sounds inequitable that I'm not knitting as much for Miles as I'm knitting for Roxy in terms of winter stuff, that is because most of Roxy's winter stuff was actually not girly colors. So most of the hats that I knit for her when she was born, they can use for Miles. So they need a little bit less right now because they have some hand-me-downs in terms of like the first baby hats and those kinds of things. So that's just why he's getting a few fewer things right now. That doesn't mean he's less loved. So I was thinking that I was almost done with Christmas already, and we're getting into November, and I was getting excited for Nanny Swaymo. And then I started thinking about holiday gifts. And I know my sister and her husband and Wes and I will exchange some gifts. But my parents have expressed that they no longer really wish to receive gifts. I think just because they have most everything that they want, and they are trying to sort of downsize and not accumulate so much stuff. But the idea of going to a holiday gathering, and I think they're still going to give us gifts and not coming with something for them, feels weird. Around the same time, I've been contacted to do a couple yarn reviews, and so I thought it would be nice to do the yarn reviews and maybe knit them something for the holidays. So I am going to work on something for my mom and on something for my dad with some review yarns. And then I thought about the fact that my nephew, not Miles, I have another nephew who is, he'll be 12 in February, and he's going to join us for Christmas this year. And I realized that he doesn't have winter gear. He lives in Virginia Beach, so it's pretty temperate there most of the year. And so I was like, well, maybe I should knit him a hat and scarf for Christmas, because when he visits us, the Midwest is very unpredictable. It may or may not be cold. We've had 50-degree Christmases. We've had 20-degree Christmases. So, but I thought maybe I should knit him a hat and scarf. So I thought about that. And then my husband told me that our niece, who is, my nephew is, the 12-year-old nephew is Evan, and he has an older sister, Ashley, who is almost 19. And then Wes told me that Ashley might be coming too. And I was like, oh, well, if I'm going to knit something for Evan, I should definitely knit something for Ashley. So thus goes the slide into madness. So the first thing that I cast on, mostly because I went to a party last night and I needed something that was very, very simple, no pattern, nothing to think about. And because I had already decided this is what I was going to knit her, I cast it on so I could work on it last night. I decided for my niece, Ashley, I am going to knit a sockhead hat by Kelly McClure. I think it's a very, if you haven't seen it, it's a very slouchy hat, and it can be done with any kind of yarn. Variegated looks great in it, and I think it's a very teenage friendly hat. I think it's something that it would go with her style, and it's something that she would enjoy. And I am using yarn that I got at Plyaway this year, at the convention earlier this year, which makes me happy because I'm using yarns that I have acquired this year. This is Yarn Geek, and it is the Super Geek base, which is, I think, either a 75-25 or an 80-20 superwash merino nylon. I don't have the card with me. And this is in the colorway Boxcar, which is just sort of this crazy riotous rainbow of color with gray and like charcoal gray and black. And I cast on last night, and I am fairly far into the ribbing section, and that is a pretty color accurate. The reds and pinks and blues are coming through much clearer than the other colors, but there are little blips of green and purple and little blips of, I can see like this one right here, this little blip of turquoise right there. So it is just a beautiful yarn, and I'm hoping that she will enjoy that. So I started work on that. This one won't get finished immediately, but it is the perfect thing to knit when you're at a party talking to someone and you really need to not pay attention, or you really need to not pay attention to what you're knitting, but enjoy having your hands busy. So, and I would say that's probably Oh, that's probably 3 of the 4 inches of the ribbing. And my niece is much taller than I am, and she has a slightly bigger head and a lot of hair, so I think I'm going to knit it per pattern. I always knit the top part a little bit shorter for me, but I think this will be great for her. So that is one of the Christmas gifts in action, and what made me think that it was okay to pull out my Christmas tea this morning. So the final thing is a wonderful product that I was sent to review this week. I was contacted a couple weeks ago about an opportunity with June Cashmere, and this is their card. And as you can see, it's junecashmere.com. And I'll just read the back because it's got a little bit of their story. Intertwined in each skein of June Cashmere yarns is the story of a family living halfway around the world in the mountains of Kyrgyzstan, shepherding herds of elite cashmere goats. We are proud to offer our exceptional 100% cashmere yarn sourced exclusively in limited batches directly from the small family farms. We hope you enjoy this silky smooth, ultra warm, exceedingly beautiful yarn. It says it's gathered in Kyrgyzstan, spun in England, and finished in Maine. So that is the little story. And like I said, it's at junecashmere.com. And I was allowed to select my colorway. And this is June Cashmere DK weight. It's a 50-gram skein, 150 yards per skein in the colorway Scarlet. So that's their cute label. I can figure out the camera, really. I can. And I have decided that I'm going to knit a Zuzu's Petals cowl, which is it looks a little bit like a shawl bandana cowl. And I decided that I'm going to knit this for my mom, excuse me, for the holidays. And this is the project that I will tackle this week, and I hope to finish it by next weekend so I can do a full review of the yarn on the podcast and have another Christmas knit out of the way. So yes, thank you to June Cashmere and to Stitchcraft Marketing for making this possible, and more to come. So the final little bit of knitting that I did this week that will be coming up this week is Nanny Swamo, National Knit a Sweater Month. I swatched my Spirit Trail Fiberworks Zalti, which is their 100% Targhee worsted / Aran base in the blue hydrangea colorway, and the monitor's kind of blowing it out. It's a little bit less, I don't even know what to call it. It's a little bit bluer. The monitor wants to say it's purple, and it's got some really gorgeous semi-solid shading that I don't think the monitor is picking up. I will try and take a picture for my Instagram and for Ravelry. The deal is, the reason the swatch looks a little bit off is because the bottom's on 7s, the top's on 8s, and I did this yesterday. I haven't even measured it yet, but I knit so that I could kind of get an idea of what my gauge looks like, and honestly, I can't decide which fabric I liked better. The 7 is quite a bit denser. You can see by the fact that the swatch is trapezoidal. And I thought I really liked the 7, and I really kind of like the 8 too. So I guess I'm going to check out the gauge and see which one matches better. I had kind of figured I'd get whatever gauge I liked the best in terms of feel, and then I would go ahead and knit whatever size went closest to that. I am knitting the Lady Marple sweater by Nadia. It's a hyphenated last name, and I cannot remember what it is. I will put that in the show notes, and I will be talking about it more next week. So that is my swatch, and I will be working with that to start my sweater this week. I suspect that the sweater will get a little bit of work as the weeks go on, and I will really push on the sweater when we go to Chicago at the end of the month, once some of the Christmas gifts are done. So the sweater and the socks may not see a lot of progress until we drive up to Chicago, which is 10 hours each way, and my husband usually drives, so I have all that knitting time. Plus, we'll be probably just hanging out over Thanksgiving. We'll take Roxy out for some stuff, but mostly we'll probably be hanging out, and so I should have lots of knitting time on that trip. So that is what I will be working on. that brings me to the end of knitting, although I guess I should talk about what I am wearing. I meant to do that right after tea, but just whoosh. Okay, so I am wearing, it is called the Est Light Shawl, Aestlight. It is by Gudrun Johnson, and I just love it. It's a very simple shawl with this bird's eye lace, I think is what it's called. I cannot remember. I'm totally blanking on it. The yarn is Woolmize. The colorway is Thriller. And I really wanted to do it like this as a Halloween shawl. The black is also Woolmize. It is Schwartz, and I love this, and I only bring it out around Halloween, but it was a little chilly in the house this morning, and I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to get some wear out of it. So, and yes, I know it's candy corn colors and whatever, but it is the perfect Halloween colorway, and it was just what I needed this morning. So let's go on to spinning. This really actually won't be a terribly long podcast because I am getting close to the end of everything I wanted to say. So let's talk about spinning. Last week I showed you a braid of Julie Spins. It was bright green, and I said it was for a friend who loves bright green. It is BFL Silk, and it is called So Ready for Spring, which I am not yet because we are barely touching into fall, but it was her colors. I spun that up, and I am planning to ply that today. Today is actually a spinning Sunday, which I will be going to shortly, and so my plan is to take this and ply this up today. So finish that for October, and that means I have spun, I think, almost 2 pounds in October with Spinzilla, which is, of course, hugely crazy for me, and I think that brings me up to 14 pounds for the year, 14 and a half pounds maybe for the year, which means I'm actually on track to hit 16 pounds in 2016. That's kind of crazy. So originally I joined the group, I think it started in, might have been 2012, spin 12 pounds in 2012, spin 11 pounds in 2011. I don't even remember exactly when they started. And I did that, and then I spun 13 pounds in 2013. And then my goal for the year changed. I decided that I wanted to spin basically 52 4-ounce braids for the year. So basically a 4-ounce braid a week. And it could be in larger lots, like if I had 2 braids that were 4 ounces, technically I'd probably only count it as 1 spin, but it still counted towards my 52 braids a year. And yes, I sometimes take a couple weeks off from spinning, but Tour de Fleece and Spinzilla, and those times I tend to spin more, so it kind of all evens out. And so my goal has always been basically 13 pounds a year for the last several years. But for the last several years, I have made 14 pounds and 14, 15 pounds and 15. I thought this year was going to be the exception, that I wasn't going to make 16 pounds and 16, but actually, crazily enough, I'm kind of on track for that. So I make no promises in future years, because by the time we get to 17 or 18 pounds, I'm just not sure I can do that. But my plan is 52 braids a year. So that is consistent with what I like to get spun up, get put in the shop, etc. Sadly, this one will not be going in the shop, but let me show you the next spin, which will. The next spin is a braid that I have been hoarding for lots of years. This might have been one of my first braids of Hello yarn that I purchased. It was from a shop update, and it is Superwash Merino, and it is Reflections in Snow. And this is totally a holiday season braid. It reminds me of furs and red berries and white snow, and just kind of a forest, and I absolutely love it. I'll be interested to see what it turns out like, and this one will go to the shop, so if these colors are speaking to you, think about following. I will probably not get it done, well, I will probably get it done next weekend and show it on the podcast, and it will go up in the shop shortly thereafter. So that is what I will be spinning this week. Maybe I'll get started on it today. It just depends if I finish plying or not. So that is the conclusion of the prepared materials. I only have 2 more things to discuss. Sip of tea, and then we'll continue. Last week I showed you, and I didn't bring it over, it's a skein of Rhinebeck yarn and some maple candy, and I posted a thread for the giveaway. I locked that this morning. We had 34 posts in the thread. The first one was mine, so I used a random number generator to run 2 through 34, and the winner was Yarn Rose 3 Rosemary. So please contact me via Ravelry or at my email, which is ldwcameron@gmail.com. And let me know your address so I can get that prize out to you this week, and I will also include a selection of fall teas. So congratulations, Rosemary. The final bit of information is that I started a thread for the gift along cowl. I am busily knitting Christmas gifts. Obviously, they won't count. But let's start again. Starting between November 1st and December 31st, any item that you craft for someone other than yourself, it can be a holiday gift or it can be just a gift for someone else, knitting, crocheting, spinning, sewing, anything that you craft for someone else, you can enter that in the finished objects thread, and there will be prizes. I haven't announced what those are yet, but there will be at least a couple prizes, which I will award in the early days of January. So get credit for things that you're already knitting for the gifting season. I have started the chat along thread, or the chatty thread for the gift along, so head over to the Ravelry group and check that out. And starting on November 1st, I will set up a finished objects thread so you can start to post your finished objects. So, little bit shorter than last week, but still chock full of goodness. I will let you go for now, and I will say until I see you next time, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye!